Good evening and welcome to the channel. Now in this evening's video, I would like to share some really new information. This is a discovery of letters which reveal the wider clock and mechanical network of Henri Montandon of Besançon and Paris. And this discovery is in great part due to the cooperation I'm enjoying with a French horological association, and this is the Association de Horologerie Comtoise of Montréal, and in particular Monsieur François Bouffard. And without their help, this report would not be possible. So I am sharing some archival horological research which has come to light, and this reveals the dimensions of a watchmaker's activity that is simply not revealed in printed catalogs. Yet we have these very fascinating letters. And so I'm presenting a group of newly examined business letters, and these connect Henri Édouard Montandon of Besançon and Paris with a very prominent clock manufacturer in Montréal. And so this shows that he not only engaged in watch production, however, in regulator clocks, public installations, client referrals, and technical consultations with mechanical constructors. So these letters date from the mid-1890s, and they provide direct evidence of his broader professional network. So Montandon's business position, this was Henri Édouard Montandon. He was operating the firm of Henri Montandon, and this is a company set up by his father in 1850, and he inherited this business and continued it, departing from Besançon around 1893, and his fabrication or his production, his atelier, was still located in Besançon. However, his sales were generally located in Paris at his comptoir. Yet he seems to have been very well placed, very well connected. And so he was located in Paris on the Rue de Turenne, number 98, excuse me. And his letterheads, they display medals, exhibition distinctions, his factory credentials, etc. So these are numerous. He counts approximately 10 of these medals. And this is a very empowering vehicle for his brand identification at this time. So these makers would celebrate their success by wins, medals achieved at these competitions and expos, etc. Oftentimes competitions, chronometer competitions. So let us look first at a commission and client referral letter from 1894. And this refers to a prior commercial agreement involving 10% commission on orders placed through Montandon's referrals. And this letter reminds the recipient that several clients had been directed and specifically named municipal authorities. These were the mayors of towns. And in this one, we have the mayor of Montréal, which is Montréal in the Dordogne region of France, not in Canada. And this was near Ventoux. He notes that a formal written request had already been forwarded months earlier. So this is confirming that Henri Montandon acted as a commercial intermediary in at least some cases. And this is rather unique variety of documentation that exists, because we have these back scene, these relations that he maintained. Now, so these were directing institutional clients towards clock or regulator supplier, and he would then therefore expect commission payment under this agreement. This is a structured commercial language, and this indicated that he organized cooperations between firms routinely. But we also have another letter from 1896, and this is a regulator inquiry. And this inquiry, now a later letter from 1896 concerned the regulator clock, but this Henri Montandon was asking the recipient whether they could supply a regulator or perform a réglage, a proper réglage. This is regulating of this clock. He requested dimensions, pricing, performance details, running duration, installation formats, etc. So the wording was very technical and specific. It showed that Montandon was actively engaged in the regulator level precision timing, or rather timekeeping. So these were not only for wearable portable watches, but for large edifice clocks that would go in towns or in a church, etc. So this places him within the precision clock sphere as well as watchmaking, which is very fascinating. And now we have another letter, and this actually was a letter from Henri Montandon, mécanicien à Tournai. And this was in Eure, which is rather close to Normandy. This is west of Paris. But this Henri, so it was printed on his letterhead, this letter, and it identifies him as a producer of agricultural machinery, mechanical construction workshop, and it listed his medals and awards for his machinery. Now, this was Honoré Charles Montandon. He was one of the children of, many children of Charles Montandon. And now, this Charles Montandon had two sons that became very famous in this agricultural machinery construction. One was Honoré, and he notes that he had established his business around 1868. There is a second son, Jules, and this is Jules Léon Amédée Montandon. And he too became like his brother. He was actually 2 years older than his brother. He became a mechanical constructor of agricultural machinery. Inventors, they had patents for these machines. Now, between 1868 and 1872, these brothers were functioning under the name of Montandon Frères, and they were making this agricultural machinery in this Eure, E-U-R-E, area, which is west of Paris. It's basically part of Normandy. And apparently these brothers did incidentally have some sort of business quarrel. And the Honoré remained in this Tournai. However, the brother, Jules, now he went to Vernon, and he continued, and apparently a court case was had between the two, but the judge and the court resolved this amicably, and the two were basically requested to formulate their logos and their claims as far as that when the house was registered, etc., separately, so that, but there was a reconciliation, in other words, but they did continue to produce separately, and they seem to have achieved a great deal of awards. Indeed, Honoré himself counted something around 40 medals, of which 20 of these, I believe, were top-tier gold medals. The other medals were also silver, bronze, etc., but he had a huge amount of these top-tier medals. Indeed, Jules appears to have been even more successful. But we do have these individuals identified. Now, they are some very distant, most likely, very distant cousin of Henri Édouard. They are not directly related. Indeed, if one goes back to the early 17th century, it is around this time that most likely this family did move into France from Switzerland, but they most probably do share a common lineage, albeit very far back. Now, in this 1896 letter, returning to this letter, so Henri Montandon is describing a major repair situation involving a clock installation with several dials, and he asks Henri Édouard for technical advice and possible assistance. So this shows that Henri Montandon was consulted as a technical authority beyond his own workshop, including by decorated mechanical constructors handling complex installations. This is all rather interesting. So we do see Henri Édouard, his activity extended beyond watch fabrication into regulator clocks, installation problems, technical consultations, and he appears to have been an intermediary, a regulator specialist, a technical advisor, and functioning within a broader mechanical and horological network. They document his interaction with this other Montandon businessmen who indeed were at many of these expos. Jules Montandon was at the 1889 Paris Expo, and I believe he took a medal there as well. This archival correspondence helps us reconstruct the real working networks behind such 19th century horology. Now, I would like to point out that in these letters we can see a little bit. Let's go a little bit deeper now. We read phrases, for example, from the 1894 letter. Following our agreement, you granted me a discount or commission of 10% on the orders that I direct to you. Now, I have referred several clients to your firm, including the municipality of Montréal, that is near Vantua in the Dordogne region. A formal request letter was already sent several months ago. So this confirms that there were the business referrals and commission agreements. Now, the 1896 letter, this is literally, could you supply a regulator or carry out a proper regulation? Now he's, please inform me of the dimension and the price. He also refers running, duration, mounting formats, etc. But this is a technical regulator procurement inquiry. Now the 1896 letter involving Henri Montandon. So I have an important repair case involving a clock with several dials. There is a difficulty with the installation. I request your opinion and whether your intervention would be possible. And this was regarding a large clock on a church tower. Now, so we have a mechanical constructor here, Henri Montandon, consulting with Henri Montandon on this clock installation. We do have a lot of very precise information in these letters, and it is interesting that the individual with whom he was corresponding was a very famous firm, and this family is extremely famous around France. And let us discuss with whom he was corresponding. So the firm with which Henri Montandon was corresponding and collaborating, this was, the individual was Louis Delphin Audobé Cadet. Now, Cadet, he is the junior or younger So there is a senior and a junior. The father had the same name, but they were clock manufacturers in Morez in the Jura area of France. And so this family was a major French maker of horloges d'édifice, or tower clocks, public clocks, etc., these mechanisms. So they were based in Morez in the Jura region. And Odobe Cadet, he became one of the most important clock making establishments in France during this period of the late 19th century and early 20th century. So we have this really fascinating collaboration with this premier edifice clock maker or clock tower maker in France. And this was more or less the headquarters of that industry in France, much like Besançon was the watchmaking capital. Now, this area of France in the Jura, this is very well known for these comptoises, these large, rather grandfather clocks, etc. as well. So the company of this family, they grew to be one of the principal producers of these public clocks. And over its long history, they built thousands of tower clocks, many installed in churches, municipal buildings, and public institutions. And estimates suggest that the firm manufactured in the order of 100 clocks per year at its peak. So this is around the turn of the 20th century. So this is exactly the period that we were talking about. But they were clocks were widely distributed in France, especially in the south, the central, and the eastern regions, which is, once again, we have these letters showing that Henri Montandon was referring several mayors of various different cities to this watch, or this clock edifice manufacturer. So, but Odobe's clocks were known for technical quality and craftsmanship, and the firm did display at industrial exhibitions, and they won medals as well. And this helped establish their credibility. So it's also interesting that around 1880, Louis Delphin's eldest son, this is Paul Adobe, he established his own competing workshop, Paul Adobe Fils, and Louis Delphin's company continued under the slightly modified name LD Adobe Cadet. So once again, we have this sibling rivalry, much like we see with the story of the agricultural manufacturers, Henri and Jules Montandon, who essentially were working in the same industry, and they split the firms. We see the same thing happening with this firm as well, which is rather interesting parallel. But so we have this really remarkable sort of correspondence, and we can see the mechanism behind this, that on these referrals, Henri was making a 10% commission, and there is probably a lot more within this collaboration than merely this, that they probably were collaborating on various levels. So, but this opens up a new avenue into our understanding of Henri Montandon's business. Now, he had, around 1893, transferred to Paris, keeping his manufacture in Besançon. So this 1894 to 1896 period was relatively early in his transfer and in this level or stage of his business development. So it's interesting to see that he still had connections in that part of France closer to Besançon, where we have him exercising these relationships. So, and he at this time he was also advertising, this Henri Montandon. He was advertising in military almanacs, so that he was probably selling to military officers. Now, his family had already been established with the railroads previously under the father and the judiciary, but also municipalities. So this is where the mayors probably come in, that the mayors were already, and the magistrates, they were already procuring the pocket watches from this firm, and they were well known. And so this was most likely a very logical step, that they would ask him for help with these tower clocks, etc. And then he would refer to this specialized producer, and then they would share the business together in this way. But this is a little bit deeper into this business profile of Henri Édouard. He's probably the most clear or documented horologist that we have in France, or at least one of them, that was specifically related to watch manufacture. Since we have so many documents around his name, including 2 watch catalogs, a watch guarantee and receipt. Now we have the business correspondence here. So we're getting a really good picture of Henri Édouard as a watchmaker at a very interesting time. So I hope this video was instructive, and I hope it shows this fascinating delve into these lost letters which have been unearthed. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I look forward to your feedback, and thank you as always. Bye-bye.